Hello everyone. In this video, the reflection questions and model answers on episode 5, the Perpetual Virgin, will be read to you.
Outline on episode 5, the Perpetual Virginity. Dr. Brant Petra's talk in Lectio Mary explores the doctrine of Mary's perpetual virginity, which is the Catholic belief that Mary remained a virgin throughout her life, before, during, and after the birth of Jesus. He examines the Bible, particularly the Gospels of Matthew, Luke, and the Old Testament for evidence of Mary's proof of a vow of virginity, and historical sources to support this doctrine. He discusses the phrase brothers and sisters of the Lord mentioned in the New Testament, suggesting that the Greek word used in the original text, adelphos, has multiple meanings, including cousins, kinsmen, and close friends. He also notes that the doctrine of Mary's perpetual virginity was taught by the early Church Fathers, such as St. Jerome and St. Augustine, and has been widely accepted throughout the history of the Catholic Church. Finally, Dr. Petra emphasizes the importance of Mary's role as the Mother of God, which ultimately offers a profound example of humility and obedience to Christ. The main points in Dr. Brant Petra's talk on Mary's perpetual virginity are as follows. 1. Definition and importance of Mary's perpetual virginity. 2. Analysis of the phrase brothers and sisters of the Lord mentioned in the New Testament. 3. Examination of the Greek word adelphos, which has multiple meanings. 4. Review of the doctrine of Mary's perpetual virginity throughout the history of the Catholic Church. 5. Referring to the teachings of early Church Fathers, such as St. Jerome and St. Augustine. 6. The significance of Mary's role as the Mother of God. 7. The importance of humility and obedience to Christ, which Mary's example showcases.
Reflection questions based on Dr. Brant Petra's talk on Mary's perpetual virginity, along with model answers. 1. Why is it strange for Mary to say she knows no man to Angel Gabriel at the Annunciation, although she was betrothed to Joseph? Mary's vow and word choice. Mary's statement, "I know no man," Luke 1 verse 34, suggests a current commitment to virginity, not just a past state of being unmarried. This aligns with the understanding of a vow of virginity, as described in Numbers 30. Joseph's acceptance. Joseph's agreement to the marriage despite Mary's vow implies his own acceptance of a celibate marriage. This was uncommon but not unheard of in ancient Jewish. The Gospel of Matthew supports this understanding by stating that Joseph knew her not until she had given birth to a son, Matthew 1 verse 25, suggesting continued abstinence even after Jesus' birth. Perpetual virginity. The early Church Fathers widely affirmed Mary's perpetual virginity, bolstering the interpretation of her vow and Joseph's acceptance. In essence, Mary's words and the surrounding context strongly suggest a vow of virginity, which Joseph consented to within their marriage. In the Jewish culture of that time, betrothal was a formal engagement that required a divorce to break, and it was typically accompanied by a period of time in which the couple would prepare for their marriage. During this time, the couple did not usually live together, but it was expected that they would have the opportunity to consummate their marriage after the wedding ceremony. Therefore, Mary's response to the angel Gabriel might seem strange because it suggests that she was not planning to have a sexual relationship with Joseph before or after their marriage. Additionally, Mary's response is significant because it emphasizes the way in which her pregnancy was a supernatural event that was initiated by God and not the product of human agency. Mary's response also underscores the importance of her perpetual virginity in Catholic tradition. Her response to Gabriel indicates that she was committed to maintaining her virginity, even after her marriage to Joseph. According to Catholic theology, Mary's perpetual virginity is a sign of her unique and singular role as the Mother of God. 2. Mary as the Ark of the New Covenant was from a vision of John mentioned in the book of Revelation. How is this vision a biblical typology of Mary? The book of Revelation describes a vision of John where he sees the Ark of the Covenant in the temple of God in heaven. The very next verse describes a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She was with child and wailed aloud in pain as she labored to give birth. This woman is believed to be Mary, the mother of Jesus, who is the new Ark of the Covenant. In the Old Testament, the Ark of the Covenant contained 3 things: the tables of the law, some manna, and the rod of Aaron, the first high priest. Mary, the new Ark, bore within her womb Jesus, Word of God, Bread of Life, and the High Priest. Pope Pius XII in his Apostolic Constitution Munificentissimus Deus declared that Mary was assumed body and soul into heaven. This declaration is based on the biblical typology of Mary as the Ark of the Covenant who is in the heavenly sanctuary according to Revelation 11 verse 19. 3. Could it be that Joseph understood Mary would be carrying the Son of God, and therefore equivalent to the Ark of the Covenant, which was known to be untouchable, thus, he allowed her to continue with her vow of virginity? Dr. Brant Petra said, why would Joseph accept such a vow? That's kind of the question most people want to ask. I would suggest this: if Joseph even had the remotest understand the fact that Mary's was the new Ark of the New Testament and that had become the dwelling place of God on earth, and he would have known even the priests and Levites couldn't touch the Ark right, how much more in the New Testament would be fitting that he would honor her desire to remain consecrated. As for the comparison between Mary and the Ark of the Covenant, it is believed that Mary is the new Ark of the Covenant. The contents of the original Ark of the Covenant prefigure Mary. The original Ark of the Covenant contained 3 things: the tables of the law, some manna, and the rod of Aaron, the first high priest. Mary, the new Ark, bore within her womb Jesus, Word of God, Bread of Life, and the High Priest. 4. Discuss the historical and theological significance of Mary's perpetual virginity in the early Church and its ongoing importance in contemporary Catholic faith. Church fathers such as Saint Jerome and Saint Augustine taught the doctrine of Mary's perpetual virginity, seeing it as a sign of her unique role in salvation history. Today, the doctrine remains an essential part of Catholic beliefs about the significance of Jesus' mother as an important figure of faith and devotion. Historically, early Christians strongly believed in Mary's perpetual virginity, as evidenced in writings from the 2nd century onwards. This belief influenced early church doctrines, art, and practices, such as the veneration of Mary as the Eoparthenos, ever virgin. Theologically, Mary's perpetual virginity signifies her unique role as the Mother of God and her exceptional holiness. It highlights her complete devotion to God, even in her marital relationship. It parallels her sinlessness, as both her virginity and sinlessness reflect her exceptional grace from God. Contemporary Catholic faith. Mary's perpetual virginity remains a core doctrine, affirming her unique status and inspiring devotion. It emphasizes the sanctity of human sexuality and the possibility of complete dedication to God, even within marriage. It underscores Mary's role as a model of faith and obedience for all Christians. 5. The Gospels mention James and Joseph as brothers of Jesus, sparking debate about their exact relationship to him. How did Dr. Brant Petra used biblical references to show that they were Jesus' cousins? Dr. Brant Petra said that Catholic tradition regards the brothers of Jesus as cousins, not children of Mary. He offered the following explanations. Matthew's identification of Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, as the other Mary is significant in understanding Jesus' family. The presence of multiple Marys at the foot of the cross and the tomb is explained by the popularity of the name in Judaism at the time of Jesus. Understanding the distinction between the Virgin Mary and Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, is important in interpreting the events at the crucifixion and burial. Identified as the mother of the brothers of Jesus, evidence from the Gospel of Matthew and John supports that the brothers of Jesus are likely cousins, not children of the Virgin Mary. In John's account, Mary, the wife of Clopas, is identified as the mother of James and Joseph, further supporting the idea that the brothers of Jesus are not children of the Virgin Mary. The word brother or sister doesn't always mean blood relatives. The Greek word adelphos can also refer to cousins or relatives of some sort. Evidence from both Matthew's Gospel and John's Gospel align to demonstrate that James and Joseph, the so-called brothers of Jesus, are in fact his relatives, most likely cousins. Eusebius identifies the brothers of Jesus as cousins, not children of Mary. Eusebius shows that James was the first bishop of Jerusalem and known as the brother of Jesus, but actually a cousin. Simon, the next appointed bishop, was also a cousin of Jesus, not a child of Mary. The brothers of Jesus were actually cousins. Eusebius and other writers confirm that the brothers of Jesus were actually his cousins. Clopas, identified as the brother of Joseph, was considered a cousin of Jesus, not a brother. The brothers of Jesus were actually his cousins, not his siblings. Evidence from early church fathers and historical records support the idea that the brothers mentioned in the Gospels were actually cousins of Jesus. The so-called brothers of Jesus, such as James and Simon, went on to become bishops of the early church in Jerusalem, confirming their identity as cousins. 6. How can Mary's example of humility and obedience to God be meaningful in our contemporary lives? Answer: Mary's example of humility and obedience shows us the importance of trusting in God's plan for our lives and putting aside our own egos and desires in service to God. Her example serves as a model of authentic discipleship for us to follow in our own daily lives. 7. How does Jesus giving his mother, Mary, to John, a student and apostle of Jesus, to look after his mother after he died prove that Jesus has no brothers? The fact that Jesus entrusted Mary to the care of John, one of his disciples, has been interpreted by some scholars as evidence that Jesus did not have other siblings. This is because in Jewish culture of that time, the responsibility of caring for one's parents would typically fall on the eldest son. If Jesus did indeed have brothers, it would have been expected that the responsibility of caring for Mary would be given to one of them, rather than to John. However, Jesus entrusted Mary to John, which some scholars interpret as evidence that Jesus did not have other siblings. Additionally, in the Gospel of John, when Jesus is on the cross, he asks John to take care of Mary, saying, "Woman, behold your son, behold, your mother." John 19 verses 26 to 27. This suggests that Jesus was entrusting Mary's care specifically to John, rather than to a family member who might be expected to take on such a responsibility. Thank you for viewing. May God bless you today and always.